Hello, my name is Madalena Verdu, and I've decided to pick Costco Wholesale out of the Fortune magazine's list of most admired companies in the United States. So I would be going over Costco and addressing the underperformance and people management. Just a little introduction on Costco. They have been recognized as one of the most admired companies on Fortune's magazine, but they're not perfect in all dimensions. They're also known for their great prices and strong customer loyalty and good benefits. And the focus dimension is people management. There's been recent challenges with workforce engagement, uh, promotion pathways, and work life balance. Major issue identified is that growing employee dissatisfaction in certain locations due to limited upward mobility and high turnover departments, high workload during peak hours without matching staffing, and then reports of inconsistent management practices across warehouses. And that leads to signs of trouble of growing talk about unions and high turnover in some roles. And then once again, the dimension impacted is people management. Ramifications of underperformance. The effects include increased turnover in entry level positions, lower engagement scores in employee surveys, risk of negative public perception due to labor tensions, and if they're not addressed, there would be higher recruitment training costs, reduced of customer service quality, which will be impacting their sales, and potential union strikes disrupting operations. And a source that I was looking through, McCormick, said that disengagement leads to productivity loss and brand damage. Going over organizational structure, design, and culture, Costco's flat hierarchy encourages autonomy but can slow decision making on workforce issues. Their strong cost control culture sometimes limits investments in staff development, and corporate values emphasize customer service over employee advancement in some cases. And the influence is that structure and culture shape how quickly people management gaps are addressed. And something that I read throughout our course book written by Griffin is that structure and culture directly affect organizational responsiveness. Conscious culture, like we read in the book, does focus on purpose, stakeholder value, and mutual respect. And Costco partially embodies this through their high wages and benefits, but gaps remain in career growth and inclusive leadership development. And in one of the sources that I was reading, they did state that building a conscious culture boosts engagement and innovation. And there is a need to align people policies with conscious management principles to be able to strengthen the workforce loyalty. Now I will be going over Carter's 8 step change model. The very first step is to create urgency. Second step is to build a guiding coalition. Third step is to develop a vision and strategy. The fourth is to communicate the vision. Fifth is to empower broad based action. Step number six is to generate short term wins. Step number seven is to consolidate gains, and then number eight is to anchor new approaches in the culture. These are steps that I got from the source, the coffer, which demonstrates how each of Cotter's 8 steps was successfully adapted and applied to empower culture competence development within a university setting, which is very interesting to read. Hello, my name is Madalena Verdu, and I've decided to pick Costco Wholesale out of the Fortune magazine's list of most admired companies in the United States. So I would be going over Costco and addressing the underperformance and people management. To continue on with steps number 5 through 8. Step number 5 was to empower action, which would mean to remove policy barriers that limit job rotations or promotions and provide leadership training for supervisors. Step number 6 would be to generate short term wins. So, pilot programs in 10 warehouses for skill development, which would encourage the workers and recognize and reward early adopters and quarterly town halls. Step number 7 to conciliate gains and expand successful pilots to all locations within 18 months and to integrate people management metrics into manager performance reviews. And then last step, step number 8, to anchor new approaches and culture, and basically to update Costco's core value statement to reflect employee growth focus and also include career development as a key KPI in annual reports. Of course, challenges and management plans will be taking place in order for this to happen. There will be resistance from managers used to current cost control approach. There will be budget limitations for training initiatives and variability in adoption rates across locations. And the plans would be to have transparent communication about ROI of engagement and purchased budget allocation to spread cost. And then lastly, peer mentoring between high adoption and low adoption warehouses. The subsystem realignment, starting with HR, would be to add structured career planning tools. Then, moving along with operations, would be to adjust staffing models for peak periods. Communication would be to create feedback loops between employees and leadership. And lastly, measurement subsystem, which would be to be able to track turnover, promotion rates, and engagement scores quarterly. The lessons learned and management strategies. The very first lesson is that culture change requires visible leadership commitment and that employee engagement directly links to customer satisfaction and profit. And moving forward, strategies that I will use will be to invest in training and promotion pathways early, maintain open communication channels, and avoid delaying changes until problems escalate. And then something that I've read in one of my sources written by McCormick is that early engagement reduces turnover and builds loyalty. And lastly, these are a list of references that I used for this benchmark presentation. Thank you for watching.